Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Tech Take-Up session. I'm Iris Yuningye, and today I'm with Neil Johnson to talk about how to manage Apple devices with Intune, especially for the macOS devices.
So, as Iris said, welcome to our session, which is going to be about macOS management in Intune. We're going to cover a whole bunch of different things. So we're going to take a look at the recent updates from Intune, so over the last year. We're going to take a look at what's coming in the next year. We are also going to take a look at some enrollment features. So Iris is going to do a deep dive into LAPS, so the local account password service, and platform single sign-on during device enrollment, which is easily the number one requested topic whenever I speak to customers at the moment. Iris is also going to talk about custom compliance. And then I will talk about macOS recovery lock, which is due in March. So this is what we've been up to over the last year. It always seems like a lot when you look back, and it never seems like quite enough when you look forward. But this is what we've been doing. So in August to October, we did pinning web clips to the dock. We added a whole bunch of things to settings catalog. You'll see us add things to settings catalog almost every month. So as Apple release settings, we import them and they automatically get added to settings catalog. So that's why we often seem ahead of many of our competitors. We do similar with Defender. So as Defender partners and colleagues internally add additional capabilities to Defender, we import those and add them into the product. In 2023, so this time, so October 2023, we were adding support for Sonoma. And we also built DDM software updates. So we were the first MDM to put out DDM software updates, which was a huge improvement over the previous capabilities that we had for Mac update management. November to January, again, we added more Defender policy enhancements. We added more things to settings catalog, custom PKG support. So this was a big one for us, being able to deploy unmanaged PKGs. We added a new date picker to set the target date for DDM software updates, and we increased the size for DMGs and PKGs. This was a huge ask from many of our customers, and it was great to get this in place. In February to April, we did await final config. This is where the Mac gets held in a setup assistant until we've deployed all of the configurations and paybacks that it needs, so that we know it's ready for your end users by the time we release them to the desktop. We added local account management. This was around pre-configuring the local accounts that get created on the Mac. We did custom PKG pre and post install scripts. Again, I remember this period well, and this was the number one ask for many of our customers during this period of time. More settings catalog items. We always add settings catalog items here nearly. We also added cloud PKI support and remote help. These are part of our Intune Suite offering. And it's always great when we get Intune Suite capabilities passed over to Mac, and both of these work really well. In May to July, we did platform single sign-on public preview. Many of you took part in that, and the feedback was really welcome. We also added support for DMG and PKG in Company Portal. We did Acme protocol support. This is a new mechanism of deploying certificates, which was great. More settings catalog, and then we also supported viewing the recovery key, so the file vault recovery key in Company Portal itself. Before that, you had to go to the website to handle that, and it's much easier to do it in Company Portal. August to December 2024, we were doing Sequoia Day Zero settings. Then we did some OS version and CPU architecture as filters, which again was great. That was a really highly requested feature. We increased shell scripts to 1 megabyte. Again, that was a highly requested item for customers that were deploying certain community scripts that were quite large. And then we also added user channel support in resource access profiles. This essentially meant that we were able to put the user certificates in the user keychain, which again was a really common ask. We had some updates to DDM, software update DDM, in January to April 2025. We removed the desktop management command, and we also did some VPP enhancements, and the volume purchase program enhancement that was across iOS and macOS. In May to July, we did enhanced inventory. So you will have seen there was additional blades within Intune where we started to pull back all of the information that we were returned during an MDM check-in, which previously we would have dropped. So that was really valuable, and there was a whole bunch of things in there that you could make use of. And again, that applied across many device platforms, including iOS. We also shipped managed admin accounts. Iris is going to talk a little bit more about this and local admin password solution as well later on. This is the ability to control the admin accounts that get created during Setup Assistant and also the password of those admin accounts. These two features together also allow your end user to be a standard end user and not an admin user. And then from August to November, we did platform single sign-on, went globally available, which was great. We had a large number of customers that were waiting for that capability. We added software update reporting for DDM. Again, this is absolutely fantastic. And we really benefit here from the features that Apple have built into DDM, where we end up with, close to real-time update reporting for software updates, which is awesome. And then Apple released OS 26. So that came out in the tail end of 2025. And we were busy making sure that we were up to speed with day zero capabilities. And as for the past 5 years, we were on the money. Everything worked as it should do day zero. And most of the announcements and most of the feature set that had been released during the Worldwide Developer Conference in June were available at the launch in September. So this is what we have coming up over the next year. So we have a whole bunch of interesting features. We've got Resource Explorer, which is already in Intune, but it's going to be generally available. The ability to rotate macOS admin lapsed passwords, again, which is really, really good. And that allows us to control that lapsed password and when it gets rotated. So that will go to GA. It's already in Intune today. We are releasing Acme Protocol for macOS BYOD and ADE. So that's kind of rolling out now, and we'll go GA as well this year. I'm going to talk about this feature, macOS Recovery Lock Management, at the end of the session. This is about controlling Recovery OS and the ability to get into Recovery OS and protect that section of the Mac from the end users. Defender Risk Score is coming. So this is the ability to have machine risk score, so that machine learning and the device posture validation by Defender to help you set your device compliance. So this is a really, really great feature and allows us to make use of the cutting edge technologies in Defender and machine learning to determine whether your devices are trustworthy to put enterprise data on them or not. We also have JIT compliance remediation. This is a great feature which is very user-centric, unique to Intune. And the concept here is that if the device is non-compliant, rather than send the end user to a web portal where they'll see the reason they were not compliant, we'll tell them why they were not compliant in the application that they were trying to launch at the time. And we'll give them information of how to remediate that at the point of authentication. So it keeps them in the flow in the application that they were trying to launch. Enrollment time grouping. This has been a really big ask over the past couple of years. The idea here is that you will be able to set certain payloads and policies and apply them immediately max enroll into Intune. So this will be great for payloads and policies that are really important that you get onto the device at enrollment time. We also have ABM Get Token. So this is Apple Business Manager Get Token support. This supports all kinds of new Apple capabilities around that managed Apple identities, so the managed Apple accounts. This allows you to essentially enable native application use with managed identities for things like contacts or other Apple apps that rely on Apple accounts in an enterprise environment where you don't want to allow personal Apple identities. We have platform single sign-on with ADE. So this is platform single sign-on in Setup Assistant. So the current product that we have is platform single sign-on. The feedback of that has been absolutely great. Apple have taken the next step here and allowed us to configure that in Setup Assistant, which means your end users will go through the flow of configuring that as they take the Mac out of the box. So by the time they land on their desktop, their identity is configured. Iris is going to talk about custom compliance as well later. This is the ability for you to set custom attributes and to have custom controls over your compliance. So essentially anything you can determine about your Mac, you can build into your own compliance policy. And then the final thing that we've got in the roadmap so far is custom app detection. So this is the ability for you to essentially have scripts that will determine if an app is installed or not, so that Intune can make a better decision about whether it should install it or not install it. So what should we do? So this is handing over to you now, Iris.
Cool. Now we talked about all of the features we've been working on in the past by Neo, and also what we are looking forward to in the future. Um, well, I'm gonna deep dive into the enrollment features. One of them is called Labs, Local Admin Password Solution, and the other one will be for PSSO. Thinking through our trail of thoughts as our team, enrollment is the point where the user will have the first contact with Intune. So our priority goes to enrollment in terms of the feature development a lot in the past years, and also when we're thinking about the future to give user the best experience and give admin the most flexibility in managing the devices. So in terms of labs, local app and password solution, it will be really a simple setting underneath an enrollment profile, as I can share on the screen here. It will be sitting under account setting and is a feature already ready. So what you will need to do is only one click on creating the local admin account under the local admin account section under there. So with that setting to yes, this feature is automatically available to the newly enrolled devices. In the meantime, we also recognize the needs that you want this feature to for all of this already enrolled device is on our backlog, and we will be working on it and get to you for sure in the coming future. So creating and configure the managed app account in addition to standard account during ADE has been a huge ask from all of you in the past in terms of the parity between what if our end user have some issues, how can we support them better? So now with Labs, you will have a local admin account for support and also a local primary account for the primary use. And those two will separate the functionality of the support part and also how the end user is using it. Underneath, we have the auto rotation on the custom schedule. You can choose between 1 to 180 days and also manual rotation for the Intune UI. These are more of a detailed breakdown of what are the settings are underneath. You have the flexibility for creating the account username, admin account full name underneath, and also hide or choose in between users or groups to configure that too. Also create a local primary account underneath. You will be able to select between if it's a standard account or admin account. Also, any pre-fill account information will be needed for this user. Now, here is a demo of how the lab's password retrieval will be done on the admin portal. The first thing you will do is click on the devices you want to retrieve password from. After clicking on it, there's a tab on the side called Device Management Password Retrieval. Click on that will lead you to the page of the passwords and keys. And by clicking on that, there are two sections here, and the bottom part will be where you retrieve your local admin password account. In the next section, I will do a deep dive of a platform single sign-on with ADE, and for acronym, we'll use PSSO for the rest of the time. As Neil mentioned in the intro and our roadmap slide, we already provide the PSSO experience for all of the admins for you, but we noticed there's one hiccup that users sometimes miss the notification when it goes on desktop. So the great news is Apple provided us with the new flow for PSSO with ADE in the past WWDC. And there are two flows that introduced to us that will truly help resolve this hiccup. The first one, we internally will name it PSSO during a wait config. We expect it to come in the next sprint or two. And then the second one is PSSO during setup assistant. Both of the experience share the similarity that the device registration will happen and complete during setup assistant. But there are slightly different flows I will dive into further. But for the PSSO during setup assistant, which we expect to come in Q2 this calendar year, the device will have only one authorization needed compared to what we have right now. So at the bottom, you will see a comparison between the current PSSO flow versus the PSSO during setup assistant on macOS 26. In the current PSSO flow, there are two auths the end user has to do. The first one happens at the very beginning when the enrollment kicks off. And the second one happens when the user goes on desktop, the one that a lot of users miss clicking on. But in the new flow, there will be only single auth and the user will be fully onboarded. So with this simplification, the new PSSO flow will solve a lot of your problems on the overcomplicated flow and also ensure the device is secure and registered as soon as possible. Here is a table to compare the terms. For the PSSO during 8-way config, in Apple's official documentation, it is named as PSSO for unattended device enrollment. And for the PSSO during setup assistant, in Apple term, it is named as PSSO during setup assistant and PSSO during device enrollment. But because of the fact that the PSSO during F8 config can also be applied to other attended device, so in our Microsoft term, we kind of expanded above it and call it PSSO during 8-way config. But here is a mapping so that in the future, when there are new terms coming in, the table will help you. And for the requirement for PSSO during 8-way config, it's pretty simple. There are 4 parts of that. First one is the device has to be enrolled in ABM or Apple School Manager. And the second one is the enrollment profile has to be configured to set up a system with modern auth, which is the most common one that all of you are using right now. But the most important part is define the 2 keys in the settings catalog. The first one, enable registration during setup, is not released yet, but it will be released as part of the PSSO during 8-way config feature when we make it available. And that has to be set to true for this new flow to work. And the second key is enable create first user during setup. This has to be set to false. Together with all of these settings, the flow will work as expected. And also don't forget to deploy company portal via line of business app for the fact that as a line of business app, you will be able to do a sync for enrollment in the admin portal. So the benefits is really telling by itself. Device completes device registration during 8-way config after the 2 sign-ins. Right now, the first version will be released and will have 2 sign-ins for the fact that the first one will be about the downloading the MDM profile and the second sign-in for completing the registration. But we'll also be working on to improve the process in the long term. So now is the first PSSO flow for ADE during 8-way config or for unattended device enrollment from Apple. Let's talk about the second flow released by Apple. It's called PSSO during setup assistant, and we align with Apple on this term here. There are also several requirements kind of need to bear in mind. First one, device has to be above 14 or later. There is a auto updater feature also released by Apple in the last WWDC. If it's between 14 and 15, device will be auto updated to 26 and then proceed with platform SSO during setup assistant. If the device is already above 26, it will just proceed with PSSO during setup assistant as the regular flow. And the second one, still, device needs to be an ABM or school manager for this to work. And the last but not least, we will be releasing a new authorization method in enrollment profile named the platform single sign-on during setup assistant. So the benefits of this really breaks down into 2. The first one is to simplify sign-in only one time and it's all set. And the second one is improved compliance, that device registration is enforced during provisioning. So whenever user is on desktop, the device is fully ready. Now, without further ado, let's talk about the flow. PSSO during 8-way config. User starts with this enrollment setup system experience, and the first ever screen they will see is having this authorization window here. After they putting in and complete the modern auth process, the device management profile will proceed, and then there was a split second you see the registration screen happens. And so here is where the second auth happens. User comes here to complete their authorization flow, enter their account information again, and still follow the modern auth, and then device registration is ready after this screen. Here, your user will see preparing your device and then sign in to organization with their corporate account. With the password and with creating a local account here, the user will just proceed with the rest of the regular experience for enrolling their macOS devices. And then after that, they will be able to use your device. And so there was one split second that you will see user has that user SSO extension. And then after that, it comes to the screen for welcome. And then just proceed with all of the productivity app. So this is the flow PSSO await how it will look like. Everything happens during enrollment and await config session. Now let's deep dive into custom compliance and we'll show some prototype. The idea between custom compliance will be mirroring the experience with Windows and Linux. If you are already Windows user on Intune, you should have experienced a similar step. So there are two steps for custom compliance. The first one is still just creating a discovery script to define what is the attribute for this compliance policy. And the second step, you will need to come back to compliance policy under the custom compliance, toggle it to configure it, and then discovery scripts that are pre-created will be linked to the policy in the page, and then JSON file needs to be uploaded to set the policy details. Same experience, but for macOS as a new platform. In creating discovery script, it still happens at the device compliance tab under the compliance policies, and then click on add and then macOS. There will be 3 steps to be completed. The first one is the name, just the basics, and the second one is copy and paste your script to the discovery script box. And after that, completing the review and the save the policy. This policy will be reflected here and also will be reflected too when you're creating the custom compliance policy. The discovery script will show up. Here comes to the second step of the custom compliance experience. Under the custom compliance policy, there are 3 fields we talked about. The first field will be your choice of toggling between required policy or not configured. If it's toggled to require, there are 2 more fields reflected. Second field is select your discovery script. This is exactly where we were just now. We created 2 policies in the last demo. So right now in the blade from the side, there are 2 discovery scripts reflected that is created for macOS platform. And the third field is upload and validate the JSON file with your custom compliance settings. In the testing JSON file I uploaded here, there are 3 settings I defined, and respectively, I create an operator and value attached to it. So all of these will be reflected as a preview section under the third part here. So after completing these 3 parts under the custom compliance policy and assigned to the device that you're targeting with, the device will be good to go and reflect the compliance status as needed. Now I will hand over to Neil to talk about recovery lock.
Thanks, Iris. That was some super cool stuff. So what is recovery lock? Recovery lock is an MDM managed password for the recovery partition. So this is for the Windows crew. This is a bit like the BIOS firmware of the machine. It lets you get into a partition on the Mac, which is often used for recovering devices. If the end user can get in here, there are things that they can do, especially if they have the file.recovery key. So often we want the end user to have their file.recovery key so that they can reset their own local password, but we might not want them to get into the recovery OS partition with the file.recovery key because that allows them to do things that we potentially don't want them to do. So that's what their function is for. Intune is going to be able to generate and set password on device by settings catalog. So this is a policy that you can deploy and push down, and it will be applied during setup assistant. So it'll be enforced during await config. We can rotate password via action or policy. So you can perform remote actions. I'll show a quick screenshot of that shortly. or we can do it via policy. And there's also a capability to display the passwords to your admins or support or help desk teams. So this is very handy if you need to get access to the recovery OS and you've locked it down. The password can be cleared by manually entering the payload. You can unassign the policy, or you can unenroll. So one of the nice things here is if you have devices, when they become unmanaged from Intune, will automatically remove the recovery lock password. This capability, it goes back a long time, and it's available for Apple Silicon Macs running 11.5 and newer. So the admin experience is enabled via settings catalog, and you can configure auto rotation schedule in months, very similar to FileVault. So it's a super simple policy. You just enable it, and then you set the recovery lock schedule, and it will auto rotate as the device checks in. When it hits the rotation schedule timer, it will rotate that password and reset it. So what does that look like from an administrator after the recovery OS password has been set? So the top bar here is what you would see in device view. And you can see, along with the other controls that we've got for retire and wipe and delete and remote lock, we have a new one called rotate recovery lock password. You'll see it's also next to rotate FileVault recovery key. Works in a similar way. Sends a remote command, and the device will attempt to, if the device is powered on and can check in, it will rotate its recovery lock passcode. This is quite handy if you know that the recovery lock passcode has been used and you want to reset it. You could also do this under password and keys. So in the screen below, you can view the recovery lock passcode. So in the same screen that you can view your FileVault recovery key, you can view the local administrator account password that Iris talked about earlier. So those lapsed passwords that you may have set. You could also go in here and view your recovery lock passcode as well. And you can also rotate the recovery lock passcode too in here. And this feature is currently scheduled for March. So this will be the end of March. And so Iris and I would love to thank you all for spending some time with us and listen to our talk about managing Macs within Microsoft Intune. We'd also love to invite you to join the Microsoft Mac admins community on LinkedIn. This is a fantastic community. It is quite large now, has many people from our product team, and also has many of your peers who are managing Macs in the enterprise in a Microsoft environment. It's a great place to find out what's going on, how to solve certain problems, and to see any new feature changes too. So from Iris and myself, I'd like to thank you for joining, and thank you very much.
Thanks for joining.